Good afternoon and welcome to this program commemorating the Sultanate of Oman's 51st National Day. My name is Kathleen Ridolfo, Executive Director of the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center, and I will be your moderator today. Before we begin the program, let us pause for the National Anthem of Oman. As we begin our program, it gives me great pleasure to introduce His Excellency Moosa Hamdan Al-Tai. Ambassador Al-Tai was appointed Ambassador of the Sultanate of Oman to the United States in 2020. His appointment follows a distinguished career in the Sultanate's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including previous appointments as Ambassador to Morocco and non-resident Ambassador to Mauritania, Mali, and the Central African Republic. He also served as ambassador to the Republic of Korea. Prior to his current appointment, Ambassador Al-Tai served as chief of the West Asia Department, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He earlier served as strategic director of the National Defense College in Muscat. Earlier in his career, he served as deputy chief of the Economic Cooperation Department, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and delegate at the Oman mission to the United Nations in New York. Ambassador Al-Tai is a recipient of the Wissam Alawi granted by the King of Morocco and the Order of Diplomatic Service Merit Medal granted by the President of the Republic of Korea. Ambassador Al-Tai, happy National Day.
Thank you very much, dear Kathleen, and thank you for this generous introduction. I would like to start by thanking you all for attending this, and especially thank you for our panelists who we invited to join us and say a few words at this occasion. I know it is a hard time to get together and celebrate, but I thought we have this event so we can share our ceremony with you, and hopefully we can in the future meet in person and celebrate this occasion. I have prepared a few remarks on this occasion, and I look forward also to listening to you. The Sultanate of Oman marks the 51st National Day of the Renaissance, the 18th of November anniversary. The event comes around at a time when Omanis ponder about the achievements made so far and brace for further accomplishments, with firm resolve under the wise leadership of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, who pledged to hold high the banner of renewed renaissance since he assumed power in the country on 11 January 2020. The renewed renaissance kicked off on a high note when His Majesty called upon the people of Oman to do their best to enrich domestic development and foster progress in all fields. This is considered one of the major principles of renewed renaissance in its quest to attain the supreme national objective of making Oman the central point in all what we strive to achieve, an objective whose salient features already materialize in terms of updated laws and refurbished programs of action across all sectors. In the beginning of this year, a royal decree number 6/2021 updated our basic law of the state to serve as a basic pillar of continuous efforts to shape a better future for Oman and its citizens, and to build a solid ground for their renewed renaissance. Enhancing the institution of the state, safeguarding its territorial unity and its social texture, protecting its culture foundation, and consolidating public rights, liberties, and duties. It also provides for a stable mechanism of transfer of rule, which reflects positively on political and economic aspects and affirms the principle of sovereignty and independence of the judiciary. It makes education a compulsory till the end of the basic education, establishes scholarly method for thought, development of talents, and encouragement of innovation, as nations attain their prime only through education. It asserts the leadership's deep conviction in the potential of youth in promoting the country's development. Omani women take center stage, their rights guaranteed by law, and operate alongside men in different fields of national service. Attention to women is one of the national fundamentals of the country. The decline and fluctuation in oil prices and the precautionary measures to address the impact of COVID-19 affected the economies of many countries. Since Oman is not isolated from the global community, it had to take measures to address the situation. These include the initiation of a medium-term fiscal balance plan 2023. The program was designed to bring down the general debt and to secure fiscal financial stability. The 10th five-year plan, 2021-2025, the first leg in the executive plan of Oman Vision 2040, which is based on 4 axes comprising 14 national priorities, 88 strategic goals, and 68 performance indicators. The 10th five-year plan seeks to achieve a number of goals, among them activating the economy, upgrading the efficiency of management of public services, realizing balance among measures of rationalization of public spending, espousing disciplined financial expansion policies, accelerating the rate of implementation of major strategic projects and public-private partnership projects, attracting more direct foreign investment. The financial procedure topped by the medium-term fiscal balance plan showed positive results as Oman registered growth in total revenues by 22.6% and a 58% decline in deficit by the end of September 2021. Oman enjoys historic and special relations with the United States. That goes back to 1833, when the Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was concluded. More recent, the two countries established diplomatic relations in 1972. The United States and Oman signed a free trade agreement in 2009, and the goal is to work together to increase trade and promote investment and business for Oman and the US. Our relations cover broad agenda that include political, military, trade, culture, regional, and international organization, just to name a few. One of the cultural exchanges is the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center, which is hosting this event. Thank you, Kathleen. We also have played many roles, especially sometimes when in need, when some of our friends and US citizens were in not so good situation, and Oman used these offices to actually gain their freedom and communicate with the authorities to get them back into the US. We hope all safe and always to continue to be safe. We value the US international efforts to address global challenges such as climate change, fight against COVID, regional conflicts. We believe that American involvement is a force for good, and we look forward to enhancing our bilateral cooperation. The Sultanate of Oman's foreign policy stands on firm grounds. Oman advocates principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries, positive contribution of safeguarding international security, promoting common public interest through dialogue and understanding among countries and nations. We are very much interested in working with nations that share our common interest in promoting peace, regional stability, security, and economic development. National days of countries constitute symbols of pride and dignity. In Oman, they are moments of contemplation in the past and the future of the country, a time to remember the founder of modern Oman, the late Sultan Qaboos bin Said bin Taimur. His memory pulsates in the heart of Oman, of every Omani, man and woman, who insistently pray for him in gratitude for his good deeds for the nation and its loyal people over 50 years. The achievements made by the late Sultan Qaboos are stark and manifest in every sphere of life. He sought and cultivated true faith in the people. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Ambassador Altai. Our next guest is Mr. Joey Hood, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs at the Department of State. Mr. Hood has spent most of his career working on the Middle East, particularly on the Arabian Peninsula. He has served as Deputy Chief of Mission in Iraq and in Kuwait, and as Consul General and Principal Officer in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. Prior to these assignments, Mr. Hood was Acting Director of the Office of Iranian Affairs at the Department of State. Mr. Hood has also served in Riyadh, where he coordinated U.S.-Saudi military cooperation, and in Asmara, where he was a liaison to rebel leaders from Sudan's Darfur region. He has also been assigned to U.S. embassies in Yemen and Qatar. Mr. Hood, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, my apologies to you, Mr. Ambassador, and all of your guests. I had to log in from my iPad here because my desktop connection was just not cooperating with me today. But I'm glad that I found a solution to join you and make these brief remarks. Thank you for this honor. First of all, allow me to extend my heartfelt congratulations to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq Al Said and the people of Oman on the 51st anniversary of your National Day. The significance of November 18th in Omani history, we know, dates back much longer than 51 years, but in 1970, this was the day that His Highness Sultan Qaboos launched the modern Sultanate. And it was on this date in 1650 that Oman gained independence from Portugal. Our bilateral relationship, as you mentioned, Mr. Ambassador, does not go all the way back to 1650. In fact, the United States didn't exist as a country for another 126 years after that. But as you mentioned, we established our treaty in 1833 of friendship and commerce. And that was the first bilateral accord that we had with any Gulf Arab state. And we are very proud of that. Today, Oman and the United States are each other's trusted partners, strong allies, and good friends. Through your leadership, Ambassador, and your team here in Washington, along with Ambassador Leslie So and her team in Muscat, we've worked closely together on a number of shared priorities. Today, more than ever, with so many existing and emerging challenges, whether they're ideological or environmental or even viral, the United States
You are back.
Well, even my trusted iPad cannot be trusted, but our bilateral friendship can be trusted. It's stronger than any connection, even 5G. And that's due in large part because of His Majesty the Sultan's leadership, which is a force for stability in the region. And we welcome the spirit of facilitation and consultation with which Oman conducts its affairs. I know that I speak for my leadership, Secretary Blinken, President Biden, and others when I say how deeply we appreciate Oman's support for many regional issues, including Yemen, of course, where Oman's support for the UN-led peace process sets a high bar for the region and is crucial to that process for it to succeed. We appreciate Oman's assistance during the withdrawal from Afghanistan as well. Your support was crucial for the evacuation of American personnel. Let me also echo the words of our President and Secretary in saying that the United States is committed to the Gulf. We have tens of thousands of military personnel in the region working on joint capabilities with our partners hand in hand. We're sending a clear message by doing that about our security commitment and that our partners can count on us. And those military and security ties are very close, but of course, our engagement in the region is much broader than just security. Economic and cultural ties are just as important in the long run as our military cooperation, and maybe even more so. Both bilaterally and multilaterally, the nations of the world must increasingly find ways to come together to address the threats that face us now and in the future, which may not be military threats, as we're seeing with the pandemic and other things. But together with friends like Oman, I know we can meet the challenges of the 21st century and beyond. And so once again, I wish His Majesty, the Sultan, you, Mr. Ambassador, and all the people of Oman continued peace, prosperity, and security on your 51st National Day. Shukran.
Thank you very much. We wish you the same, and we wish the United States and its people all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Secretary. Our next speaker today is Ambassador Francis Cook, who is chair of the Ballard Group, LLC. Ambassador Cook comes from a 32-year career in the U.S. Foreign Service. In addition to serving as the U.S. Ambassador to Oman from 1996 to 1999, she previously held ambassadorships to Burundi and Cameroon, as well as U.S. Consul General in Alexandria, Egypt. She was twice tapped as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State. Ambassador Cook was designated the first female chief of mission in the Arab Gulf and the first female head of post in the Middle East for the United States. During her government tenure, Ambassador Cook also chaired the executive branch's Interagency Gulf Security Working Group. In 1999, she transitioned from her government career to the private sector, which has included service on the boards of major listed corporations in the United States and United Kingdom, as well as chairing privately held companies in Europe, Africa, and the Arab Gulf. She has also served on numerous think tank boards, foundations, business councils, and NGOs. Currently, she is a senior advisor, strategic development at Garda World Federal Services, and a board member at the Thea Satellite Systems. Welcome, Ambassador Cook.
Thank you very much, and greetings to everyone from my winter home in Florida. It's a great honor to be with you on the Sultanate of Oman's important 51st National Day. Let me begin by extending special thanks and congratulations to Ambassador Altai and the lovely Amal and their embassy team, and to the dynamic director of the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center, Kathleen Ridolfo, and her team. The SQCC, which prominently stands in downtown Washington, is a monument to the life and achievements of my friend, the late Sultan Qaboos. Since His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq assumed the throne in January 2020, the times have indeed been challenging. COVID, historically low oil prices, and a powerful storm that killed many and devastated Oman's historic northeast, a region that I know well. but the Sultan has proven himself up to this historic task by boldly undertaking major reforms in both the government and the economy. I, for one, have read the IMF's very positive assessment of Oman and was impressed with their outlook. Notably, His Majesty has also moved the younger generation up into major government roles, which the times demand. Some of the ministers, I'll confess, I've known since they were youngsters, and I've been delighted with my interaction with them in their new positions. Oman is on the move, in brief, and along with several of the major sectors that will be Oman's future in the so-called post-oil world. His Majesty's willingness to undertake all of these reforms while building a government where all of Oman's groups and religions play a role also tells me he understands the lesson of inclusiveness that Sultan Qaboos frankly sought to teach the whole region. Another major area where Sultan Haytham has continued that legacy is working towards regional peace. Oman continues to be a critical and valued partner in efforts to end the murderous conflict in Yemen and renegotiate the JCPOA with the new rulers in Iran. Let me close by speaking a bit about the future of Oman. Oman has had a vision of its post-oil future since my time there. I was honored to be deeply involved in the establishment of the major container port in Salalah. I saw the impact that it had not only on the southern region, but globally. It's now the 10th busiest port in the world. Duqm, a very different kind of port, is part of that same future, which also takes advantage of Oman's fortunate location on both regional and global shipping lanes. Duqm's future is frankly limitless. I've personally visited Duqm at least 5 times, and I urged an enhanced whole of government focus on that special economic zone. Tourism is also a critical part of Oman's future and requires now, I suggest, fully staffed offices in the US, Asia, and Europe to attract the attention and the visitors that its already award-winning and quite fabulous tourism infrastructure deserves. Finally, shortly after my return to Washington, I testified before the US Congress in favor of the US-Oman Free Trade Agreement, which the ambassador has mentioned. I celebrated its passing and its signing. That too needs a reinvigorated effort and an interministerial team to maximize fully what is likely to be the last free trade agreement that I think the United States will ever sign with the region. These are all very big agenda items, but I am convinced that the dynamic new team of ministers that Sultan Haytham has put in place can together make this future real for Oman citizens. Anyone who has had the honor of serving in Oman keeps the nation, its citizens, and their future close to their heart. So I join all of Oman's friends today in celebrating this very special nation on the 51st anniversary of its Renaissance. Shukran and thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Ambassador Cook. Our next guest today is Ambassador Richard Schmierer. Ambassador Schmierer is chairman of the board and president of the Middle East Policy Council. He served as the U.S. ambassador to the Sultanate of Oman from 2009 until 2012. He completed his foreign service career in 2014 as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Public Diplomacy in the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs. Ambassador Schmierer previously served in the positions of NEA Acting Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary, NEA Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Iraq, and Director of the Office of Iraq Affairs. Schmierer was at Georgetown University from 2005 to 2007, where he published the book, Iraq, Policies and Perceptions. Ambassador Schmierer's diplomatic career has included postings in Iraq, Germany, and Saudi Arabia. Welcome, Ambassador Schmierer.
Well, Kathleen, thank you very much. And Your Excellency, thank you very much for the opportunity to join with really many friends here on the screen and friends of Oman. And of course, I recall my time in Oman as really the highlight of my own diplomatic career. I particularly wanted to mention the strong friendship that I enjoyed from all the senior leaders in Oman, as well as from the Omani people. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos was extremely gracious, very generous with me. And when we had real policy issues to discuss. He was extremely supportive of the U.S. The senior people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the minister responsible for foreign affairs, Yusuf bin Alawi, became a good friend, and his deputy, Syed Badr, who's now the minister, continues that friendship. So it's been a real pleasure for me to have been able to serve in that position. Your Excellency, as you alluded, there were some historic times during my time there, in particular, as Oman helped the Obama administration and Secretary Clinton, who visited twice, reach out to Iran initially to try to secure the release of some young Americans who had been detained there, which ultimately led to what was really the historic agreement, what's called the Iran nuclear deal. And so Oman has for a long time, and specifically at that period, played a very important role in regional peace and in support of U.S. interests vis-a-vis the countries of the region. As has been mentioned, I think Oman can and will continue to play a very important role in issues like Yemen and with continued engagement with Iran. So I would certainly encourage your country to continue that. I would also mention that during my time in Oman, I had the opportunity on several occasions to meet with His Majesty Sultan Haitham. And I was extremely impressed with him as a personable individual, as a very, as someone has a very strong background in a variety of areas, in particular in economics. And I think that's where he has focused, and I think with great success since he ascended to become the Sultan. So I certainly want to wish him and all of you continued success in those efforts. And I know you've made a lot of progress. Since leaving Oman, I've had the opportunity to return on several occasions as the head of the Middle East Policy Council. And I want to thank the Sultan and others for the strong support that our council has received from Oman and the advice and the way that Oman has helped us in our work, which is to really try to help educate people here about the region and about the Middle East. Kathleen, I also want to congratulate you and thank you for the efforts of the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center, which has been a mainstay of making sure the people here in Washington and more broadly around the country are aware of Oman and the very important role that it plays in the region. So this is a great occasion, your 51st National Day. It's certainly nice to see such a celebration. And I thank you again for the opportunity to participate and to join so many friends on the screen here who also have fond memories of their engagement with Oman. So thank you. And I'll turn it back to you, Kathleen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Schmierer. Our next speaker today is Ambassador Gerald Feierstein. Ambassador Feierstein is Senior Vice President and Distinguished Fellow on U.S. Diplomacy at the Middle East Institute in Washington, D.C. He retired from the U.S. Foreign Service in May 2016 after a 41-year career with the personal rank of Career Minister. As a diplomat, he served in 9 overseas postings, including 3 tours of duty in Pakistan, as well as assignments in Saudi Arabia, Oman, Lebanon, Jerusalem, and Tunisia. In 2010, President Obama appointed Ambassador Feierstein U.S. Ambassador to Yemen, where he served until 2013. From 2013 until his retirement, he was Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs. In addition to his career-long focus on the Near East and South Asia, Ambassador Feierstein also played a prominent role in developing and implementing State Department policies and programs to counter violent extremism. As Deputy Coordinator and Principal Deputy Coordinator in the State Department's Counterterrorism Bureau, Ambassador Feierstein led the development of initiatives to build regional networks to confront extremist groups, as well as to counter terrorist financing and promote counterterrorism messaging. He continued to focus on defeating terrorist groups through his subsequent tours as Deputy Chief of Mission in Pakistan and as Ambassador to Yemen. And we welcome you, Ambassador Feierstein. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, and allow me to add my voice to this distinguished panel and express delight at this opportunity to congratulate our friends in Oman and at the embassy, Ambassador Attai, and all of the staff at the embassy on this occasion of the 51st Oman National Day celebration. We at the Middle East Institute have a special reason for celebrating Oman's National Day, as our institute has long enjoyed a special relationship with the government and the people of Oman. Every day, when scholars and visitors enjoy the outstanding collection of books and manuscripts and other material related to the Middle East at our fabulous Oman Library, we are reminded of the generosity and the friendship extended to us by the late Sultan Qaboos. Ambassador Attai, we were delighted that you made a stop at the Oman Library, one of your first official actions when you arrived here as the ambassador. As Americans, we're also pleased to recognize the important role that Oman plays in promoting regional security and stability. Under the leadership of Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, who has maintained the wise policies instituted by Sultan Qaboos. In that regard, let me also mention, as my other colleagues have, the cooperation between the United States and Oman to resolve the conflict in Yemen that has been a critical factor in the efforts of the international community to end this humanitarian catastrophe that has played out over these past number of years. At the same time, Oman's strong support to advance the U.S. commitment to promote our shared security interests has been a centerpiece of U.S. engagement in the region for many decades. I wanted to mention one other aspect of the close cooperation between the United States and Oman. As we look past the recent COP26 meetings in Glasgow, I want to take special note of the strong commitment that Sultan Haytham and the Omani people have made to promote environmental awareness and to address the global challenges of climate change. Oman was one of the first states in the region to recognize these threats to all of our well-being and to take active steps to care for the environment. From laws and regulations to combat marine pollution and manage hazardous waste, to the establishment of the Middle East Desalination Research Center, Oman's leadership in this important arena has long been recognized internationally. So for all of these reasons, and for so many more, I'm delighted to say happy birthday, Oman. Thank you, Kathleen, and I turn back to you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Ambassador. Our next guest is Ambassador Marc Sievers. Ambassador Sievers is director of the American Jewish Committee in Abu Dhabi, the Sidney Lerner Center for Arab Jewish Understanding. Ambassador Sievers retired from the Foreign Service on 30 November 2019. He served as U.S. Ambassador to the Sultanate of Oman from 2016 through 2019. Prior to his tenure in Muscat, Ambassador Sievers served as Deputy Chief of Mission and Chargé d'Affaires in Cairo, Political Minister Consular in Baghdad, Consular for Political Affairs in Tel Aviv, and Deputy Chief of Mission in Algiers, as well as numerous other postings throughout the Middle East. Ambassador Sievers had a prior commitment today with a visiting delegation, and he sent us a pre-recorded message.
Hello, I'm retired American Ambassador Marc Sievers. I would like to extend my greetings to the Omani people on the occasion of Oman's 51st National Day. My thanks to Ambassador Moosa Attai for inviting me to tape these remarks. It was the high point of my career as a diplomat to serve as the Ambassador of the United States to the Sultanate of Oman for almost 4 years. I had the special distinction of representing both President Obama and President Trump during my ambassadorship. I had the honor to get to know and to work closely on some key issues with the late Sultan Qaboos, through whom I came to appreciate Oman's great strategic importance as a partner. I'm always impressed when I think about the way he built Oman in 50 years. It was also an honor to have met His Majesty Sultan Haitham on a number of occasions and to watch him ascend to the throne to continue the path of peace and tolerance established by Sultan Qaboos. Seeing what Sultan Haitham has already done in terms of economic reforms and government restructuring during this difficult time of pandemic, I am confident of his success in achieving his goals, working in tandem with Oman's talented youth. I know we all look forward to a post-pandemic era of greater prosperity and opportunity. I urge my fellow Americans to visit and get to know this beautiful country and its friendly and welcoming people. And I know there will be even greater business and commercial opportunities between our two countries in the days ahead. Thank you.
I already thanked Ambassador Sievers for his message. I know he is committed with the delegation, and I'm very happy to know that he recorded this from Oman, where many of our friends, the ambassadors, continue to reside after they finish their career. And many of them do the honor of revisiting Oman and continue their friendship. I will thank him again after this as well. Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you, Ambassador. And yes, we're very grateful that Ambassador Sievers could take time out of his busy week to send us a message. Our final speaker today, last but not least, is Ms. Linda Pappas Funch. Linda Pappas Funch is a specialist in Middle Eastern history, current affairs, and Islamic studies. As adjunct professor, she has taught courses at Hood College, Mount St. Mary's University, and currently at Frederick, Maryland Community College's Institute for Learning and Development. Professor Funch first visited the Sultanate of Oman in 1974. Since then, she has returned more than 24 times, serving in various capacities as a Joseph J. Malone Fellow of the National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations, as scholar escort on several cultural immersion study visits, both with members of U.S. Central Command and the general public, and as a guest of both the Ministry of Information and the former advisor to His Majesty the Sultan for Cultural Affairs, and as an independent researcher. She is the author of the critically acclaimed publication, Oman Reborn, Balancing Tradition and Modernization. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. And she is currently completing a full-length manuscript on the role of women in national development in Oman, based on her research fellowship with the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center. Professor Funch, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Good day to you, Mr. Ambassador, Kathleen Ridolfo, distinguished guests and friends. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words on the occasion of the 51st celebration of Oman's National Day and its glorious Renaissance. It is a day on which all Omanis should be justifiably proud. As a longtime friend of Oman, I share in your joy on this auspicious occasion. Reflecting back, the year 1970, 51 years ago, was indeed a new dawn for the people of Oman when His late Majesty, Sultan Qaboos bin Said bin Taimur, may he rest in peace, assumed the throne. I'm honored and humbled to have been asked to share a few personal reflections on my enduring love affair with the Sultanate of Oman. I first set eyes on Oman in the early 1970s at the very dawn of the Renaissance. What struck me then, as now, aside from the staggering beauty and historical monuments of the Sultanate, was the optimism and confidence of its citizens. In those early years, the challenges before them were massive, to be sure, but their determination to forge a better life for themselves and for their children was greeted with eager anticipation. Since my first visit to that enchanted land, I have been blessed to have returned many times. As a lifetime student of the Middle East, its history and culture, for me, what is most remarkable about the Omani Renaissance is the way in which Omanis have almost seamlessly transitioned into modernity without setting aside their cherished traditions. As one travels throughout the Sultanate, visitors are regularly struck not only by the legendary warmth and hospitality of the Omani people, but also by vivid reminders of the cultural traditions that unite them, from the magnificent forts, castles, and homes that have been preserved and lovingly restored, to the traditional dress that is worn by men, women, and children with pride, to the music, handicrafts, and cuisine inspired by the past and celebrated today. And finally, by the construction of world-class museums that interpret and celebrate the venerable history of Oman, its commerce and trade with people around the globe. Oman is a place with a storied past, a vibrant present, and a promising future. Its citizens know where they've been, know where they are, and know where they're going. The future is generally daunting for many people, but thanks to the foundation laid by the late Sultan Qaboos and continued under the outstanding leadership of his successor, Sultan Haytham, the architect of Vision 2040, the Omani ship of state is on a solid course. My reasons for travel to Oman have been varied. I have escorted, as Kathleen mentioned, several groups, including members of CENTCOM, as well as interested students and laymen on cultural immersion study tours from Musandam to Dhofar and many places in between. Through the kindness of your government, Your Excellency, I have been invited to celebrate numerous and momentous occasions, such as the unforgettable 2011 opening of the Royal Opera House Muscat, an event that is lovingly emblazoned in my memory. I have traveled to all governorates for research and study, including for my most recent project, made possible by a research scholarship awarded by the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center in Washington. Whether traveling alone, with a group, or doing research, a pervasive calm seems to pervade the land. One that puts visitors instantly at ease. The kindness and generosity of the people of Oman, freely extended and without expectation, sets them apart from many others. Whether this is a function of their deep and abiding faith, their collective history as a seafaring people thriving on interaction with peoples of different lands, or their quiet confidence as citizens of a country at peace with itself or with the world, I do not know. What I can attest to is the fact that Oman has provided me and those with whom I have traveled with a window to an exceptional country, one that defies tired stereotypes about the Middle East, one that leaves a lasting, loving impression, and one that we celebrate today with unreserved optimism. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. We appreciate your remarks. We will now pause for a short video, and during that time, I invite our guests, our audience, to please submit any questions they might have through the Q&A function on Zoom. And we'll be back after this short video.
The Sultanate of Oman is home to a civilization that reaches back uninterrupted to a very distant past, with origins as early as 5,000 years BC. As a center of cultural interchange through the Neolithic and Iron Ages, its trading vessels piled with surging seas, its caravans and the boundless desert, until its exploits resounded in the annals of historians and travelers and geographers. In this way, ancient history, with its enduring tales and strange and heroic events, forged the Omani character and shaped its unique identity across the centuries. For many decades, the Sultanate has used oil revenues wisely to fuel an exceptional human and economic renaissance. Every aspect of society, from economy to culture, has benefited from this spurt of development, which greatly enhanced the lives of Omanis. Today, the trend has reached advanced levels of growth, and the momentum has not diminished. As we advance into the 2020s, Oman is embarking on a journey led by His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq that is taking it to exciting new and undiscovered destinations. The Sultanate has exceptional features that are uniquely advantageous to tourism. These features range from the stunning natural landscapes, including a sandy coastline extending to more than 1,700 kilometers, undisturbed deserts that stretch all the way to the fabled Empty Quarter, rich green valleys that hug the foothills of the soaring mountain ranges. For those who seek rest and relaxation or activity in pristine nature, Oman has much to offer. The Omani Economy is building an exciting vision for the 21st century on a ground base of diversity with a focus on technology and innovation. This new service orientation will seek opportunity in areas where knowledge and technological content is dominant. The infrastructure of the e-economy is already well advanced across many service sectors in the Sultanate, and with strengthening its competitive capacity in activities such as tourism, education, and manufacturing. Manufacturing includes oil and gas-based manufacturing, where innovative ideas are already becoming the locomotive for extending growth. Future strategy, insofar as concerns the management of natural resources, centers on the development of non-traditional processes using diverse sources of renewable energy. The balanced development approach depends on the existence of a labour market that can meet specific new challenges. This, in turn, requires legislation that is efficient and flexible to the changes involved, ensuring that graduates emerging from the educational system annually can be gainfully employed. Amidst all these changes and challenges, the Sultanate stands at a crossroads. It can either choose to ignore the transformation and surrender to the inevitable consequences of inaction, or it can opt to maintain control of its destiny and draw advantage from the opportunities presented. The latter choice is the one that will pave the way to a more outward-looking future, reminiscent in many ways of the exploratory curiosity of those early seafarers. And it's on this exciting option that the Oman Vision 2040 has firmly set its sights.
Thank you. And now we can open the floor up to some questions. We have David Hamoud joining us from the National U.S. Arab Chamber of Commerce. David, do you have a question or a comment?
Thank you, Kathleen. Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, congratulations on a very successful National Day, and thank you for enabling the National U.S. Arab Chamber of Commerce to be part of it. I've had the great privilege of visiting Oman at least 25 times over the years and led many business delegations there. It's certainly one of the most beautiful places, not only in the Arab world, but in the whole world, with its scenery. You've heard about that, the wadis, the mountains, the dunes, the shorelines, with its architecture, its culture supported by the SQCC here in Washington, its hotels, and most important of all, of course, its people. And anybody who's spent time in Oman knows that that's the most valuable resource of the Sultanate. Having said all that, I think there are some Americans who are not yet aware of everything that Oman has to offer. And we've noticed that some other countries in the region have raised awareness of their countries through their airlines. And so what I'm wondering, Your Excellency and any of the other distinguished panelists, how soon might Oman Air be establishing nonstop flights to the United States? And how can we, as Friends of Oman, support that effort?
Thank you, David, and thank you for your kind words, and hope you can visit Oman next time on our national airline. Actually, Oman Air was supposed to start flight from the US to Muscat, direct flight, about a year ago, a bit more, and COVID prevailed, and now it is postponed. I hope once the skies are clearer for traveling, we will resume that plan, and Oman Air opens a direct flight from the US shores to Muscat, hopefully. And I hope you are going to be one of the first people who take that flight.
Inshallah, it would be my privilege.
Thanks.
We now have Dr. Maria Curtis from the University of Houston, Clear Lake. Maria, the floor is yours.
Greetings, Ambassador Altai, and many congratulations for a happy National Day. Thank you, Kathleen Ridolfo and the SQCC Center for organizing this wonderful panel. It's great to be here with you today. I would like to ask, how might the US and Oman continue to build on the free trade agreement moving forward in addressing climate change and ensuring global food security?
Thank you for the question. It is a question I always ponder. I always try to see how do we actually utilize our special free trade agreement, because we are one of the few countries that have a free trade agreement with the United States, luckily. And the United States, very strong global player in economic and other issues. We have very strong relations, and we are trying to attract the business community from both sides to utilize this. In terms of climate change, we are doing our utmost best. Yesterday, I talked at another event about it a little bit, and today I don't want to speak very long because I have more prominent guests that really know more about our bilateral relations than maybe I do, since I've been here for a year. But basically, we are very lucky in terms of climate change to work on our renewable energy resources. We have solar energy. We are working on wind energy and wave energy and carbon capture energy. So it is very much in our plans, and we have multiple approaches to that. This is just to say a few of the things that I know, but we have spoken about it, and I hope at another time we can talk a little bit about it. I am reaching out here also to Secretary Kerry and the teams in the US administration about addressing climate change and how do we work on that bilaterally with them. I hope we do something profitable and helpful to our endeavor in climate change. Thank you for the question, and I invite any of my panelists, if they would like to add to this answer.
We have a question that has been typed online to Ambassador Cook. What needs to be done to enhance the cultural and economic exchange between Oman and the US? Ambassador
Volume, Ambassador.
I said several things come to mind, but the establishment of the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center in Washington has been a huge step forward on the Omani side. I hope we have traditionally had scholarships going back and forth. I would like to see more American professors teaching at Sultan Qaboos University. I don't think that's really been done. We've had a fair number, important number of Omanis who've studied here, including Ambassador Altai and his predecessor. So I'm very proud of that. And the Opera House has played a massive role in cultural exchanges, I think, and has the Smithsonian. The summer that the Omanis starred at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival was a highlight of my own time in Washington and been remembered by everybody who got to see it. And the number of American artists who've been at the Sultan Qaboos at the Royal Opera House in Oman has been phenomenal. And they all come away. The ones I see back here never stop talking about that visit. So I think there's more to do, but I do think the cultural exchanges have been a strength of our bilateral relations. I would like to see more in terms of business. I would like to see, as I said earlier, a lot more done in terms of the free trade agreement. But in terms of cultural exchanges, I think we're on the right path. It just needs a lot more funding, as always, on both sides. And I think we need to have more Omani groups tour the United States. Americans get out there because of the Opera House. We don't have as much coming in this direction. And I still remember, though, that we had a concert by an oud orchestra from College of William and Mary. So things are happening that we don't all even realize sometimes. And it's a joy to me personally, because the discovery of the Omani culture when I was out there was all new to me. I knew Egyptian culture very well. Omani culture is extremely different and very rich and exportable. And it's not done with European musicians, it's done with Omani musicians, which was a very strong point, I think, in everything that Sultan Qaboos did to bring culture to a people who really lived a sheltered life before he came on the throne. So all applause to both him and what continues right now. I think the cultural exchanges really are very powerful. And I think our institutions, like what Jerry mentioned earlier about the Qaboos Library at MEI, was a pioneer actually in all of this, much before the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center opened. So I think it's actually been a rich dialogue back and forth going. And as several people pointed out, it is our oldest bilateral relationship in the Gulf, and culture has been very much a part of that from the beginning, as it should be.
Thank you, Ambassador Cook. We now have Brid Beeler, who is CEO of BridBeelerTravel.com. And Brid, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kathleen. First, I would like to say a very happy National Day to Your Excellency, Ambassador Altai, and all your colleagues at the embassy, and Kathleen, to you and your team at the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center for hosting today's 51st National Day. I'd like to actually comment on a point that Ambassador Cook brought up related to tourism. knowing Oman for the last 30 odd years and watching it grow, particularly in the tourism field and how it has developed and been so successful, I would support Ambassador Cook's recommendation in having offices opened in Washington, DC and other areas in the United States to promote more of Oman's hidden treasures, culturally and its heritage. It's so rich. It's truly the pearl of the Arabian Peninsula. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much the country has to offer. And it's just a hidden gem. So I would hope to see in the future this happening, particularly since tourism is rebounding. And you have the French, the British, the German and the Italians back in Oman as we speak. Hotels are at 50% capacity at the moment, which is the only amount that is allowed currently because of COVID restrictions. But the future is truly bright in the hands of Sultan Haytham, and he will carry on after Sultan Qaboos's term, I'm sure in the same style. So happy National Day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. We have a message of congratulations from Egypt's Ambassador Zahran, which says, sincerest congratulations to the Sultanate of Oman on this auspicious occasion. Egypt and Oman go way back. The strength of our bonds, I'm sorry, something popped up. The strength of our bonds and brotherhood are rock solid and a source of pride to all Egyptians. Wishing Oman continued strides of success and quantum leaps ahead. And we thank Ambassador Zahran for his lovely message. We have one other question online. This is from Andrea Stumpf. Oman has been discreet and understated in the past, especially considering its significant role in the region and its exemplary role for the world. This humility has served it and the global community well. And yet, is it time for Oman's past, present, and promise to become better known in the world? There is no country like Oman and no peoples like the Omanis. So I'll leave that to anyone who would like to answer. Who's game?
I will take it. Kathleen. Thank you for the question itself. It's a compliment, and I really thank for that question. We would like to be better known and more known, but for what we are, the positive role we play, the modest approach to our development, and we would like to do a lot of things that fit our ambitions, but we don't want to be known for our publicity for reasons that we don't like. So we always seek, this notoriety of our regional positive player as a positive player in the region, trying to help and bring peace, not just in our region, but even far beyond, working with our partners to improve both sides of our interests. So we'd like to be known more for that, and we will continue and strive to do that as much as we can. Reaching out, in terms of our interest, tourism mentioned, commerce mentioned here, culture is mentioned here. We also want to do our best, and we are ready to reciprocate any approach from our friendly nations, especially being here in the United States. I feel very much welcome, and I will look forward to doing more, especially from the comments received by today and many approaches and exchanges I had over the time I have been here. I will continue to work towards that, and I'm happy to hear from you these ideas and to work on them and to convey them to Oman. I'm sure Oman is ready for our friendship together and working together with the United States and its people. I think our time is running out, so maybe if there is nothing more, Kathleen, if I can conclude by saying a few words.
Please, Your Excellency.
Right. I very much, thank you again for taking your, some of your valuable time to join me on this auspicious occasion. I want to congratulate all Omanis, from leadership to the public here in the United States, and anywhere, and especially in Oman on this occasion. I wish them well, and I wish you all, and I wish the United States and its people the very best. We will continue to meet, hopefully in the near future, and I hope to celebrate this occasion again in person, where we can shake hands and be close together. But we have done this today, so we don't miss this occasion with some of you. I thank you again. I want to thank all the people who watch when we didn't get chance to see them and talk to them because of our limited time. Would like to hear from them at any time. I'm here at the embassy, my colleagues at the embassy. If they also want to reach out to Kathleen at the SQCC, please don't hesitate to contact us. We are happy to meet you, talk to you, and do whatever kind of work we can do with you. Thank you very much. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you all to our panelists and to our guests for joining us today. Wishing you all a happy National Day again, and we hope to see you at the next public event. And if you're not subscribed to SQCC's newsletter and mailings, please do. We have 2 or 3 upcoming events in the next month that you're all welcome to join us for. Again, happy National Day, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.